Welcome back to marketing. Today's focus is going to be on chapter 2, which is still about strategic planning. More specifically, today we're going to be looking at strategic planning tools that companies use to help them stay profitable as well as continue to grow. So, what do I mean by this growth? Let's think about companies that we know. Take, for instance, McDonald's. Everybody knows about the golden arches, whether or not you eat there is another thing. So, let's just dig into that a little bit. About a year ago, McDonald's cut its premium signature sandwiches. And before we go too far, just to give you a little background on this, McDonald's obviously was struggling a bit just because of its current business model. And when they looked around the landscape or did a situational analysis, they realized that a lot of people were wanting more out of a burger. Hence, many different places offering these signature or crafted or customizable burgers. So McDonald's thought it would try the same thing. Well, after 2 years, that didn't work out how they had hoped to. And one of the biggest reasons it didn't work out was their target market probably didn't eat at McDonald's as much as they thought they did. They also realized that it got away from their mission, which was quick service. The sandwiches were simply taking too long to make. So this was an example where McDonald's had to say, you know what, we tried something different and it didn't work, so let's cut our losses and move on to something else. That's just one example of McDonald's using strategic planning to figure out a way to bring growth or bring people back to McDonald's. Now, as we go through further along in the chapter, I also want you to become familiar with the term called SBU. An SBU is a strategic business unit. So in this example, I am going to just show you Disney. We're all very familiar with Disney. Well, some of you probably know more about Disney than others, but just something fun to look at is this graphic, which I'll keep linked up. This graphic shows all of Disney's holdings as far as different companies and assets worldwide. So if you didn't realize, Disney actually owns ABC, ESPN, they own Hulu, they own a lot of different things that we might not know first and foremost. So how do they organize such a giant company? It's simple. They break it up into strategic business units, all functioning under the umbrella of Disney companies. And in these strategic business units, they all function with resources, money, and direction so that each one is managed individually, all working towards the greater mission of what Disney is. But again, if you were trying to manage all of these different assets and holdings under one thing, it would be nearly impossible. So again, they all function for the most part as separate business units or strategic business units. Regardless of however many strategic business units fall under a company, the goal is always to gain market share. And market share, I feel, is easily explained as a pie. So think of your favorite pie, whether it's apple, cherry, pecan pie, whatever it might be, it gets sliced up. And every company is after as many slices as they can get their hands on. And the goal using marketing is to get more slices of the pie. And that's what market share is. So today we're going to look at strategic planning tools to help gain more slices of that pie. This one's a little theory-based, but keep this in mind. These tools are for examining profits both in the short and long term. And if you boil it all down, you're either cutting things, you're adding things, or you're developing new things. And these are just three models that marketing managers use and marketing directors use to evaluate how to approach growing profits and growing their business. So over on the left is Anzoff's model, which I'll have you become familiar with later today as you kind of look at more of this model. In the middle is our innovation model, and on the far right side is our Boston consulting model. Now, just a couple things to point out, and obviously we'll talk more about this later on, is as you look at Anzoff's model, I really like this model because I think it's pretty simple to understand. There's a market penetration piece to it, which says, let's increase market share using our existing customers. So who are the people that like us, and what can we do more, or how can we do more for them? There's a market development side. This is where we have to figure out what customers don't we have, and we need to develop them further. That one can be pretty expensive. And then there's another train of thought that says, you know what? Maybe we just need new products or services for our present markets. So that would be product development. And a lot of times you see that, for instance, in like the Apple iPhone. It just keeps going generation to generation to generation. Finally, some larger companies will look at diversifying. And what this means is they increase sales by introducing new products in new markets. And their new products are often not what they're known for. So, for example, Coke, the Coca-Cola company, which everybody knows for its beverages, actually has diversified itself into water purification filters for third world countries and anywhere that water purity is an issue. So again, still in the idea of beverage, but a whole new model of creating growth and profits. The innovation is pretty self-explanatory. You can kind of see that one. And then the other one that I like to mention is the Boston Consulting Model. And this one, basically, companies put their products that they offer into a portfolio matrix. And if you're not familiar with a portfolio matrix, think of it as a binder with different folders. And in those different folders, you would categorize your products or the services that your company offers into 4 things called stars, cash cows, problem children, and dogs. As you can see by the definitions, stars are fast-growing market leaders, but they need cash to grow. So oftentimes that's your new products that are coming out that people are getting excited about, but they need to keep pouring a lot of resources and cash into those to make them market leaders. Your cash cows are your staple, or probably what the company is known for making. These are low growth, but they own a giant share of the market already. So for example, if you think about Apple, the company, obviously people know them for their iPhones, but also for their computers. So Apple's iMac computer would be a great example of a cash cow. Nobody gets too excited about that product these days, but a lot of people have it, whether they're businesses or individuals. A problem child product would be something that is struggling and it's not really gaining any ground. Maybe think about your younger or older siblings. When they were problem children, your parents probably had to discipline them or put them in their spot. And that's the same thing that's true of the products and services of companies. If they're not doing well, you got to sit them down and figure out what to do with them. And then finally, you'll have your dogs. These are products that just don't cut it anymore. And at this point, it's time to retire them or get rid of them. So again, we'll learn more and apply this thinking as we go today, but wanted to give you a quick overview of some of the tools and models for thinking about how to grow profits, how to grow your business, and how to keep making continuous improvement. These are just a couple of ways to think about looking at doing those things.